What do you do beyond HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? A lot of people are not sure what direction to go in after learning the fundamentals of web programming. The other thing I want to address is some misconceptions I've seen about JavaScript and JavaScript frameworks. Sometime last year, I saw an argument where people were discussing if you should learn a JavaScript framework before learning JavaScript. I'm not sure why that was even an argument in the first place, but this is 2024, so let's talk about it. Hello there, Kelvin here. I'm back from Google I/O and WWDC. It's time to get back to regular developer stuff. So let's get into it. Before you even get into programming, before you get into writing any code, you should know HTTP and how the web works. So HTTP is a protocol that is used on the web to send files from one point to the other. You need to know about this protocol, and then you need to know how the web works. How does the server receive a request and send it back to the browser? How does the browser interpret the code that it gets? These basics are things you should know. And then once you know this, you need to now start looking at the three core languages of the web: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's just briefly run through them. HTML is used for structuring. It's used to write the document and tells the browser what is on this page. So whether it's headings, images, videos, we use HTML to mark up this document. Beyond HTML, you also have semantic HTML. Because the browser is very forgiving, a lot of people can misuse tags. For example, using a div where you should have used a paragraph, the browser just runs with it. Learning semantic HTML, what tags to use when they should be used, is something that you should also take note of. CSS, cascading style sheets. Basically, it's used for presentation and styling. It allows us to make our web page look nice and presentable. And one of the key things with CSS is specificity, and it basically says what row overrides what row, and then the order in which these rows would override. Finally, JavaScript, which allows us to add interactivity to our web page, from button clicks to form submissions and advanced UI animations. You should learn about variables, conditional statements, loops, objects, arrays. These are the fundamentals of JavaScript. But one thing that I'd like to clarify here is that you have to learn JavaScript before you learn JavaScript frameworks. The reason for that is you need to understand the fundamental technology before you try to learn the abstraction, not the other way around. Because this now allows you to be able to use multiple frameworks because you understand the underlying technology. All you need to learn is the syntax of the framework. This way you can function in any JavaScript environment. The way I see it is, whatever you can do with an abstraction, for example, with React, Vue, Angular, you should be able to do with JavaScript itself. If you don't know how to do that in JavaScript, then it should be an indicator that you have some gaps in your knowledge, and you should probably fill that out. So that's all for fundamentals. There are many areas, and this is not an extensive list. I'll go over some of the popular or not so popular ones. The first thing is web animations. So this is the art of using motion effects to create appealing experiences, from hover animations to scroll animations, using these motion effects to make the user have a more engaging and appealing experience while using a web application. And this can be fun when used right. Animations add an extra layer of presentation to a user interface. The next area you can explore is web accessibility. This is the practice of making web products easy to use despite the user's condition or impairment. This often means that you're optimizing the user experience so users can interact with your application in a number of ways. For example, sighted users can see what they need to see. People that are navigating the web with a keyboard can also get to everything they need to get to interact with your site. And then even disabled users that are interacting with your application with a screen reader can also be able to perform every action they need to perform. Progressive web applications are another thing on the web. This is a way of combining the best of the web and the best of mobile apps to create an even more engaging experience. So having a web app that can be installed like an application can have functionalities that are usually limited to mobile applications like push notifications, working offline. Bringing these functionalities to the web and creating even more engaging user experiences. That's another area you can explore. There are some limitations to this because some browsers do not support some of the functionalities that are needed, but support is everly growing. So I believe there are use cases for this as well. Localization. Localization is the process of adapting an existing or even a new application to the local language and culture of the target market. Let me give an example. In the UK, they use kilograms for weight measurements, and then in the US, they use pounds. So localization is the process of making your website in such a way that if a user visited the site from the US, they get the weight measurements in pounds. If they visited from the UK, then they get the weight measurements in kilograms, all the time maintaining the right measurements and doing that conversion as needed. There's also dates and time. Different countries have different formats. Some put the date before the month, some put the month before the date. So this is part of localization. And then of course we have language as well, which is like the main part of localization, adapting it to the language of that currency. And there are best practices for this as well. WebAssembly is another area that is quite interesting. I don't feel we have explored it as much as we can yet, but there are a couple of use cases that are already existing out there. WebAssembly provides a way to run applications written in other languages on the web with near native speed. So you can have some libraries or applications that were written in C or C++ that are now ported to run on the web. Some good use cases that exist out there are Figma, for example. Figma uses WebAssembly, and that is why it runs so smoothly. I remember the first time I interacted with Figma, I was wondering what they used to build this because it's quite seamless, really. Another big application that was ported to the web is AutoCAD. AutoCAD was, for those that are in engineering, they know what AutoCAD is, but it was an application that was created with the web platform not in mind. But because of this amazing technology that is WebAssembly, the team were able to port it to now run on the web. So yeah, these are some of the things you can do with WebAssembly. We have WebGL. It's a JavaScript API that allows you to create interactive 2D and 3D graphics without the use of plugins. For those that are into 2D and 3D graphics, this could be something that you could also explore on the web. And lastly, WebSockets. WebSockets is an API that allows you to create real-time applications. So applications that require real-time updates, for example, stocks, chat applications require this technology. There are so many things on the web that you can do. So beyond HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, well, you can go into one of these, you can pick them up, you can play around with them, and you never know what you can build with these things. So that's all for this video. I will leave some of the resources that you can use to get started in the description. So if you're interested in any of these areas, check them out. If you found this video helpful, leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I will see you in the next one. Peace.